Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nutanix Weekly. This is episode 29. I'm in a hotel lobby, so I'm all confused as to where to get started. And it's Thursday, not Monday. So I'm all confused. Hopefully the rest of my guests are as good as always. So why are we coming to you from a hotel lobby? At least I am on a Thursday. That's because .next was this week. And our goal today is to mix things up a little bit and not necessarily cover a blog. There's going to be tons of blogs to come out of .next. But just to cover some of the things that the professor, first time I've called him that, Jirah Cox believes are the best announcements from .next, Nutanix .next 2021. So let's start with just introducing the panel. Harvey Green, as always, how's it going?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm good. The shortest drive to Durham I think I've ever had. If you're on a conference call the whole way, you don't even realize you're driving. It's just kind of scary. How did I get here?
Yes, that is brain autopilot is what I call it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got a Tesla, so you kind of can do that. I've got a big F-150 and I forgot multiple times that I had cruise control set. That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Harvey's with us as usual. Jirah Cox, co-host. Jirah for Nutanix. How's it going?
Hey guys. It's been a huge week. I'm ready for Friday tomorrow.
Yeah. So Jirah, you got on the Nutanix Believer shirt. That's from like what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? How long ago?
Yeah, this was .next in DC, I think it was. So no, this was San Diego.
Anaheim,
right?
Yeah,
Anaheim. Yep.
Anaheim. Yep.
Yeah,
that was a good one. I love that shirt. I still wear it. It's a non-dorky IT shirt.
Totally.
Well, so I love those.
We'll consider the source there, right? You and I would consider it non-dorky, right? So which is it counts for something.
You know,
on the
actually,
spectrum, that's pretty good.
Here's the way I'll say it. I get compliments when I wear that shirt on it being a cool shirt. So I assume it's a pretty cool shirt.
Okay, I'm still waiting, but that's okay.
Yeah. With us are the guys from Arctis. Arctis was a sponsor of .next. We've got Jeff Melnick and Randy Brown from Arctis. They're kind of our special guest collaborators today because of our partnership with them as XenTegra, as well as the work they're doing with Nutanix. And as we go through these things, guys, feel free to chime in and give us your opinions, ask questions, and just help collaborate. I did on the way up here. I did listen to one of the Citrix podcasts, which I like to say they saw us doing podcasts and decided to do podcasts too. That may not be true, but it sure does feel like it. I love the fact that we have people from inside XenTegra and inside Nutanix and inside the industry, and we all collaborate on these. That way, it definitely comes across as a conversation, and that's a big part of podcasting for me is get a bunch of smart people on and let them talk.
Yeah.
I just ask all the dumb questions. Well, okay, so .next 2021, Jirah, we're going to go from number 10 down to number 1. We're going to go from number 1 up to number 10. How are you staging this for us?
Ooh, I should do a quick sort here. So honestly, we're just working off of like things that I enjoyed from our announcements this week. If you're listening to this and it's at all close to the episode release date, right, we should say you can definitely still go register for the .next platform. You can watch all the recaps. You've got at least a couple of weeks to do that, right? So don't sleep on it too long, but definitely feel free to go do that. They're pretty nice and condensed, concise. I think all the keynotes are about 90 minutes or less, so you can kind of get in, get all the highlights and get out. So definitely do that and go straight to the source. If you are just so busy that you have to listen to us replay that for you, then welcome. And I'm sorry, but no, this is gonna be my notes on what I found like most notable.
So Jirah, I've got I asked you that question, but then I'm going to lead you with two things.
Okay.
Number one, we did a podcast recording, 2-3 months ago about something new, which was part of .next, I'm sure. And we've been sitting on a podcast that I haven't hit the publish button. That one I can now hit the publish button on, right?
Well, this one, we actually will be replacing it today, right? This is actually, we'll rehash all the same features.
Well, I'm still going to do it because it's great content. However, I'll hit so what we're talking about is the latest version of AOS.
Right. Yeah. So of course, some of the features from AOS 6.0 were part of the headline of the show for sure.
Yeah. So we've got that podcast, guys. So expect to see 2 podcasts get published this week. One was the what's new in AOS deep dive that we did a month or so ago that we've been kind of sitting on for this one. So AOS, the latest version, give me the number again and just give me like the top 2 or 3 or 4 things people need to know about that.
No, yeah. So AOS 6 from the stage, right? The team was we're all proud of over 50% AHV adoption, right? So like so many nodes in the wild now are running AHV hypervisor, as it shows, enterprise adoption, enterprise readiness, validation with our partners, right? Like the Arctis folks, as well as, of course, a huge announcement for the show with Red Hat, right? For both OpenShift as a container platform, but also RHEL as an OS to run VMs as well. So that one, as a huge, it's been part of my career at Nutanix, right? Is working with customers on the, I want to run Nutanix, I want to run AHV, but I wish Red Hat and Nutanix had a tighter joint support model, right? And of course, now that we've got that, that's a big objection remover.
Well, let me translate the acronyms real quick for the people who may not know them. So AOS stands for the Acropolis operating system, which is really your storage operating system, maybe similar to what NetApp has with their ONTAP, right? That's your storage solution that can run on multiple hypervisors. Is that a fair way to explain that?
Just add management there as well, right? Because there's also like Prism runs within that as well.
Right. And then when you mentioned AHV a while ago, that's your specific Linux distro that you include with AOS. People don't have to run it. They can use VMware and others, but mostly VMware. But Acropolis hypervisor, AHV, 5 years ago would have been like, I don't know. But now most of your solution is rolled out at least 50% or more on top of your hypervisor, and it's an entitlement.
Nailed it. Yep, 100%. So every node in the world can run hypervisor of your choice, right? vSphere, Hyper-V, and of course, our own AHV is included at no cost on any platform, right? So whether that's our nodes, HP nodes, Dell, Lenovo nodes, Fujitsu, your choice.
Well, I have one specific hypervisor to ask about, and it's going to lead us to our next topic, which is the guys from Fort Lauderdale and Nutanix and their big announcement. But XenTegra, you guys aren't still producing a supported version of AOS on XenTegra, are you?
Not to my knowledge, not right now, no.
Okay. All right.
Mostly due to demand, as I understand it.
Yeah, and there's some technical challenges there. It's a great hypervisor for niche use cases, but for enterprise use case, it's good enough for VDI, but other than that, it's not a great fit. So it makes sense. Okay, so before we go on to go ahead, sorry.
And of course, AHV is included at no cost. So
yeah, well, and it's so much more and widely used and supported, and there's communities about it. Why would you throw it on XenTegra really, other than having to put the little plugin on, which works great, that you guys wrote with Citrix? Why even bother? So before I go into talking about that announcements with the Citrix guys, I want to hear from the rest of the panel. Harvey and Jeff and Randy, any thoughts around the latest operating system and what that means to you?
So, for me, it's just the latest edition of something that's already been great. So, being able to take the new stuff that we'll talk more about as this continues to go on, and that we talked about, and I guess we can call it the hidden podcast. You'll hear a lot more about the features, the new stuff that's coming with the new version of AOS. I'm excited about it, but the fact that we've also had a hidden podcast for a while also says that I've been excited about it for a while.
Andy, come up here, everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in the hotel lobby, as I mentioned, and there's music. It's kind of a real trendy lobby. So can you guys hear the music at all?
No, you're good.
Actually, no.
Okay, well then I won't worry about doing that again. Okay, so from the Arctis perspective, anything from you guys in terms of the latest AOS release that jumps out to you, either with your product integration or other reasons?
So we're real excited about obviously the new version of it. Our solution doesn't really get affected by that because we're pointing at Nutanix files separately outside of the operating system. So it's great for Nutanix and you guys and the rest of the world. But for us, it's a nice feature. It's not really that integral to what we do.
Okay, so Jirah, if I went to your website yesterday, I would have found something related to .next announcement around the Citrix piece where, coming out of the gate, Nutanix and Citrix kind of completed each other's stories. Citrix needed that infrastructure play to compete against VMware. They needed an infrastructure play that was both scalable up and down and cost effective, simplified, easy to manage, supported, all that good stuff. And you guys needed that VDI workload. There's a little challenge there along the way where the organization started kind of doing their own things, maybe kind of, sort of, or at least perceived. I mean, that's not real at all. It's just perceived. But with .next, you guys made a big announcement with Citrix. You want to cover that?
Yeah, I mean, I would use my analogy of like just sort of like an even tighter handshake, right? Between Citrix has been a great workload on Nutanix. Nutanix has been a great platform for Citrix for years. None of that is even close to new. Customers have had fantastic experiences with that. And so that stands to only even get better, right? With some of the mechanics of the announcement, right? Things like even tighter joint support availability, even better roadmap co-development, kind of stuff like that. So even, standing off even what tiny little burrs there might have been, now it's an even smoother experience.
Yeah, and it's great for us. I mean, I literally must have had 10 people email me within 30 minutes talking about, how this was going to be great for our business as we relate to trying to be the best Citrix Nutanix partner we can be.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't email you because I knew we'd be talking about it, but yeah, for sure. I mean, it's squarely in y'all's wheelhouse, right? So the convergence of some great technology.
And I'll add to that, we love hyperconvergence for desktop and app virtualization and most workloads really at this point. But Nutanix and some of the things it brings to the table around like files and true scalability and the architecture with having the control VM on every single node and being able to support lots of different hardware manufacturers is just the most beautiful story in the Citrix / hyperconverge on premises and now even in the cloud story. Harvey, this is near and dear to you, I'm sure. Do you want to jump in?
Well, I mean, as I was sitting and reading about it, and Citrix is saying, oh, well, we recommend Nutanix as the best platform for you to run on, right? And Nutanix is kind of doing the same thing. Oh yeah, we recommend Citrix as the best solution for end user computing. And I look at that, and Andy, you and I have this conversation like a lot, and have been having this conversation a lot. But this is what we've been talking about for a long time.
Right.
And I won't, pretend that we were the ones who made them get together and do this, but
go for it. I won't correct you.
golly, we've been telling our customers to do this for a pretty long time now. So it's great to see the synergy. It's great to see the teamwork there, the collaboration. We know that they've been good partners for a long time. It made me feel old to say it, right? But I was, talking to people, and they were like, well, what's the real big deal behind this? And I'm like, well, they've been going out for a while, but now they're going steady. They're telling everybody that they're together now.
Well, they went out for a while and then they broke up a little, kind of, sort of. Now they're back together and they're going to get married.
Yeah.
So. Hey, Harvey, I think it was the colder, damper weather though. Those make you feel old.
Yeah,
all right.
I got a lot to learn on that.
So again, going over to the Arctis guys, does this mean anything to you guys?
It's great news for our great partners XenTegra and Nutanix as well. Really doesn't affect us much, but we do like the sort of that remote worker story. I think we fit into that along with the joint solution between you guys. So overall, it's great. Specifically, doesn't really touch us much.
Yeah. Well, as you guys know, I'm not shy to say something. I love what you just said because it does totally tie into the end user compute story. I don't like that you said remote worker because that is like the biggest nemesis of Citrix, that and total cost of ownership. The remote worker piece, it's all workers. It just so happens to work when you're remote. And you just gave me an opportunity to bring up my opportunity to get on top of my soapbox. Our good customers don't use it for remote work. They use it for all work. And that's what we love.
Well, so
Nutanix enables that.
Right. One of the concepts, Andy, that we've talked about again for a long time is that when you actually have virtual workloads and end user compute and things like that, your workloads are primarily housed in a data center or in a cloud or in a colo or something like that. So everybody's a remote worker. Nobody's sitting in the data center and working like that. So
if you're not physically sitting in the data center, you're a remote worker.
You're remote, yeah.
And should we tell everybody the cloud is just somebody else's data center? Or do you think they know that already?
I would love to say that mystery is already solved, but you'd be surprised.
You would be surprised. All right, now Jirah, was that 2 of your top 10, or is there a whole nother 10? Are we down to 8, or is there 10?
Wow. Yeah, I'm not saying on top of the numbering. We're probably halfway through at least. I think very exciting, right, was with the AOS 6 platform, right? We bring in VPCs, so virtual private cloud networking, so the ability to do network creations right there within the platform, real easily, very simply, to say I want to have virtual networks that live within the platform that can give me application portability, so that when I move a VM from site A to site B, I don't have to worry about re-IPing it. I don't have to worry about how the network's going to work. So that part I think is super exciting, right? So it's part of flow networking, giving you more application portability right across clouds.
So that correct me if I'm wrong, Jirah, is what I would call a big deal.
It's a pretty big deal. Very excited about
it. Being able to have consistency across platforms, across data centers, public cloud, private cloud, right? That is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people get tripped up when they, try to run down technology like this and be able to host it. And, the whole hybrid multi-cloud conversation with this, now changes a lot, because you've got the ability to be able to carry over settings and networks between one location to the other. That's a big deal.
Yeah. No, I mean, like what? I don't know, 80% of the manpower of DR planning is all about figuring out, do I re-IP? Do I stretch my subnets? Do I move subnets? How do we actually handle that, getting users connected to where they need to get to? When I can just move the network with the VMs so easily, boy, that is just a big game changer.
Right.
Yeah, because here's another secret. It's not the cloud, it's clouds. And we got to find a way to make at least 2 of them work together in order to be redundant or available in a disaster moment.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Well, and also even without even moving stuff, hey, how about a dev environment that matches my production IP scheme, but it's in a bubble and can't break anything, right? Like there's so many powerful use cases.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jirah, let's, and Arctis guys, feel free just to start chiming in. I'll leave pregnant pauses in there if you want to talk about how your product is enabled or supports any of these things that Jirah brings up. Okay, so Jirah, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, before you jump to the next one, I've got one for him. I want to see how he reacts to it. I had a little, I guess, bet going that I thought that when .next hit, they were going to release Nutanix clusters on Azure to GA. Did I win my bet? Or
I feel like I know somebody who's been asking about that. Oh, it was Andy. That's right. No, yeah, so for sure. So the clusters on Azure, I think the technical term was EA, right? So early access, right? Announced at .next.
That's halfway. I'll take it.
Yeah, close enough, right? I think.
So Harvey, you're going into all that. I'm thinking, okay, is this a curveball, a slider? And you threw him a softball.
Well, so I didn't, because I didn't necessarily know how it was going to end up. I had a weird .next week that got thrown all kinds of curveballs, so I had no idea where that was going.
No, so that's audience sympathy right there, Harvey. Right, you're learning along with the audience as you listen.
That's right.
I do that on every podcast. Hey, question for you, Jirah. What parts of Azure, like, okay, so is this true Nutanix on top of bare metal machines within the Azure data centers? I think that's how it is in AWS, or is this something similar but not exactly that?
No, I believe it's consuming real servers in Azure serving as Nutanix nodes.
Okay. Question for you then. I assume I know the answer to this, but I never want to assume. Does that mean I get the entitlements of multi-session Windows 10 or 11 on top of that gear because it's in Azure, it's in Microsoft's world, where I don't get it anywhere else?
Yeah, I don't know. I can say you get the entitlements of what AOS provides. Beyond that, probably a great question to get an answer to, right? For sure, from someone with a Microsoft.com email address.
Harvey, you've probably asked that question to people on while this was coming. Did you get I guess we can't get a definitive answer. We need to go get a definitive answer, right?
We need to go get a definitive answer. My guess is that the answer is going to be no, but we will find out. I'm actually interested. I think that's a great question.
I'm curious. I mean, if it's usually defined as an Azure entitlement, then I mean, some things would seem logical there.
Coming into this, I was under the impression that not only could you get subscription-based Windows licenses that counted under your M365 agreement, but the multi-session would apply too. But let's throw in the disclaimer that that's an assumption, and we will go find the answer. Let's follow up on that one.
Shocker that we're not official licensing advice.
I don't know why, Jirah. Why aren't you an expert on Microsoft licensing?
Wow.
I don't understand.
We're not going to comment on that. We're not going to comment on that from Arctis. There we go.
Licensing experts are incredibly valuable people, right?
They are.
They serve an important role. I've yet to wake up in the morning and go like, I want to become a licensing expert.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a history in the past where I was arguing with a Lotus Notes administrator that was trying to say that accessing Lotus Notes running on a Windows server did not require server cals. And I'm like, well, it's using Microsoft TCP/IP, so it must. Everything that's using Microsoft TCP/IP must. And I went years and years with that. I don't know whatever happened in that situation. I left and went to work somewhere else. But I'm sure Microsoft's going to get their money. And I don't think, in this scenario, I don't think this diminishes their ability to make money. So I think the answer is going to be yes. But again, I think it's an assumption at the moment.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm completely interested in that now. So Jirah, I just talked to my daughter about the power of and or. When it comes to clusters on Azure, can we add and you can use the VPC functionality we just talked about?
My understanding is yes. Yeah,
that's what I thought you would say.
Yeah. We should watch that closely, right? Because anything that's not fully launched, right, is still kind of finishing up its time in the oven. But yeah, my understanding would be yeah. Well, what does that unlock from a customer problem solving standpoint, Harvey, to use VPCs in clusters on Azure?
So, I mean, again, just being able to keep consistency around your environments. I know. So one of the reasons that you probably have never heard me ask about clusters for Azure before is because we've got customers who are definitely in Azure, but we do have a good bit of customers who have already started making the whole hybrid multi-cloud journey or multi-cloud journey where they have multiple public cloud providers. And so this would be a definite great thing for them, a definite feature set that they would want access to. So I am both curious and excited about how far this can be pushed. And I know you say it's still early access, it's still in the oven, but I'm already like, let's go. I want to do it.
No, I agree. It's super exciting stuff. Well, and to help. To help even with that kind of migrations, right? So 6.0 even brings other new capabilities around to AHV, right? Around stuff like sync rep, metro, automatic failover with witnesses, right? So that ability to build a multi-data center application design where you can have an entire data center go dark, applications all just restart on the other side with no human intervention, right? In the middle of the night. It's really bringing radical levels of simplicity to customers that need that kind of higher level of availability. I can apply more data centers, right, as resources to solve this problem. How does the technology help me, with that outcome?
So I know we promised we were going to let Jirah just run through his top 10, which we've struggled to do as usual because we just want to talk. But let's do this. Arctis guys. Anything from the show, an announcement that you guys found interesting that we can maybe elaborate on that we haven't covered so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it was the overall messaging that I found interesting, that a lot of CIOs out there are tapering down their public cloud sort of plans and going to that more that hybrid model. And our solution fits well in that solution, whether it's in the SharePoint online, on premise, whether you're in Nutanix, whether you're on a file share somewhere, we can handle that same situation. So I think I like the messaging. I think that our messaging is similar. And I think it's the way to go, not be tied into one particular thing, have your information should be where it should be. Where that makes the most sense versus going with some 100% one way or the other. So I thought that was very interesting. That's what the keynote basically said a lot of. So I think we're in line with that. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that was Rajiv's day one keynote, right? Talked about some polling from CIOs, and the forecast of applications moving into public cloud has dropped by 10% or something recently.
What was the driver?
Could be, well, multi-factor, right? Cost, security, governance. Cost is way up there, right? Security, governance, also big players. Autonomy, availability, resiliency.
Any wild card drivers to that you didn't expect, other than, I mean, the ones you just said are, I wouldn't say no brainers, but they're ones that you would expect to hear. Were there any that were caught you off guard?
An anecdote I heard from another partner was they're seeing as many apps move into public cloud as they are seeing come back out. It's almost 50-50, right? Which that did kind of raise my eyebrows in terms of like, wow, the velocity kind of both ways, right?
Yeah. Does something like Flow enable them to come and go as you please?
The Flow networking definitely can give you application portability, right? Part of our, larger mandate, if you will, that you heard from the main stage around, building, deploying, running applications anywhere on any cloud, right? Helping you with that kind of freedom and mobility.
Okay.
I would say just one other thing is the other factor that we're seeing, especially in our European and South Africa and most of Asia, is the privacy laws there, such as GDPR, where you have to store the client's data in their particular country or jurisdiction. The public cloud, that can be difficult and tough to track. So I think that's probably also part of that 10%, is that desire for that privacy of client data being close by and in the right type of jurisdiction. So I think that's another aspect of not 100%, not everyone going to cloud all the time very quickly. They're being sort of careful where they put that data.
The only way to control your own destiny is to control that data, right?
Yep.
Truly
Absolutely.
control it. Yep. And I wonder how much of that's going into like colos where you own the gear inside the rack or inside the cage. I think that's good enough, right? Versus not owning the server itself, nor the hardware inside the server.
Yeah, I mean, at least at that point, you can answer it and physically put your hands on it if that's what it takes for people to be able to see that. When you have it in a public cloud service, you are not able to as easily say, oh yeah, it's on this server, on this drive. It's a lot different from that perspective.
Yeah, totally agree, right? Like, it's a step some customers skip over, right? To go from, well, I definitely don't want to buy like a giant storage array every 5 years and put it in my office where I have flaky power and bad network. I'll go straight to cloud. And it's like, well, hold on, wait a minute, right? A great colo in your city with, powered by HCI, even I coach customers, right? Try to find colos that are very flexible, right? Look at half rack agreements, quarter rack agreements, because you can fit so much power in a quarter rack and a half rack these days. Right. And keep that optionality, right? That expandability as part of your agreement. And you can be very, very powerful and very, very cost effective.
Yeah. And just to dovetail on what Randy was saying, we definitely have customers, again, in Europe where, because Microsoft is moving away from this sort of bring your own key idea, where you hold the keys for the encryption data, they say, well, you can use our encryption keys now. And if something goes terribly wrong, we can decrypt that for you. And a lot of our customers are saying, hey, that's great. I don't want you to be able to decrypt my data. And so that's a big concern, right? So that's where we're kind of stepping up and being able to provide other encryption mechanisms as well for that data. So
yeah, so let me also add, we have got the Arctis guys, in the discussion talking. We neglected to mention one quick point. We talked to them before on the podcast. It was episode 17. I had to look up, and back then they were known as Nucleus Cyber. And so now they are known as Arctis. I guess, do you guys want to address the name change there, since we haven't done that yet?
Sure. Yeah. So we merged with another company, another cybersecurity company called Arctis out of Australia. And that made a lot of sense. We have a lot of our development out of Australia. On the Arctis side, they have a high expertise and a solution for very top secret collaboration. So they've got their own, we have our own platform for hush hush stuff with Department of Defense that cannot be stored in public clouds, for instance, right? You can't store something in even a GCC high SharePoint environment. So with our SharePoint expertise and Nutanix files and file shares and top secret information, it was a really good marriage. So they take the DoD stuff, we take everything below that as far as securing that information. So it's been a really good marriage. They also have, or the two companies also have, a very ABAC, attribute-based access and control philosophy to data, data-centric, which I know Nutanix is also espousing. So that data centricity is very important, where it resides, protecting it individually, and then looking at not only the sensitivity of the data, but also the sort of the scenario of where the users are coming in. So are they coming from out of the country? Are they are they coming through a VPN? How are they coming in? Are they in a coffee shop? What groups they're in? And then we decide what level of access they get. So a really good marriage. We made it official, I guess, in the end of June. So you see all our name changes is now Arctis, although it's spelled Archtis, but Arctis is the way we say it. And that's how we do it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean,
That's very exciting.
So this is kind of the next level of what we were just talking about, with being able to store your data on-prem. This is kind of the next level to that, being able to secure it past just having, the ability to point to which drive it's on. So
absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. We don't care where the data is. We'll protect it for you.
Yeah.
Is that still is it the product? Arctis Protect is now the.
It's still our product's still NC Protect. Yep. On the top secret side, the product's called Cogency with a K.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
All right.
Which I think is a cool name. So I did not name it.
So guys, we got 15 minutes left. That's about enough time to cover half a topic with this crew. No, I'm just kidding. Jirah, what's next?
So yeah, sticking with the files, right? Conversation announcing so that we announced files and objects cloud tiering. So no longer does the files like SMB share or NFS share data or objects, right? S3 data stored on the cluster need to be the contents of the entire share, right? Or the entire S3 namespace. So those can now both be sort of bottomless buckets, if you will, that go out to cloud tiers, whether it's our on-prem S3 storage, whether it's AWS S3, Azure Blob. You can write it all to one share. We can send the Altus data out to the cloud that you don't need to keep on-prem if you want to do that as well for like archive tier data. So making,
I do want to highlight, I talk to Nutanix people all the time. We don't totally just represent Nutanix, even though that's the one we like the most by far. It's that files capability that's just game changing compared to some of the other things that we work with.
No, I agree, right? I mean, it was, I think, just my opinion, the first way we really evolved beyond we run desktops really well, we run servers really well, right? Now it's like we can take on other roles in the data center. And I would put objects up there with that, right? So objects is where, the majority of the use cases that I talk to customers about for objects center around data protection, right? So like no one thinks of Nutanix intuitively, and I totally get that, as a platform that I target for my backup storage. But actually, it actually makes a ton of sense, right? It's crazy performant. It's very resilient. It's scale out, which is usually the pain of most backup targets, is like you can grow it to a certain point and then, there's some kind of painful, replatforming that you have to do, or, every 5 years, even if you don't grow, throw out the old one, move to the new one. And with Nutanix, that all goes away, right? Add new nodes, scale, when you need to. So it makes a lot of sense for backups as well, right? So yeah, for sure. I think it's super exciting that the data storage capabilities, there was a whole talk track that .next focused on around unified storage. So for sure, I think it's gonna be a big focus for us.
I'll give you a simple example for some of our VDI listeners. Remote FS Logics. Sorry, FS Logics is the kind of the default profile storage mechanism these days for people in the VDI realm and virtual desktop and virtual app realm. When I hear a customer has Nutanix and they have files, but they're not putting that technology on top of it, I'm like, oh, you're missing a great opportunity to have something reliable, resilient, and fast as heck.
Totally, right.
And
it's and of course, and so securable, right? In such a fancy, not fancy, I find a novel way, right? With the Arctix folks to be able to wrap, policy-based protection around shares that go way beyond just a simple ACL, right? That ability to say like, oh, you're coming in from somewhere that I don't trust. Hey, authenticate even more for me to get to this data, right? Go see, like Harvey said, go listen to episode 17. Some very cool capabilities in there. And then, so also new there, right? So we brought to our smart DR 4 files, right? The share level data protection, right? So share level protection for the shares. You can now do 1-minute RPO so that your data gets from prod over to the DR site even faster. And then also, of course, maintains that ability to do self-service restore. So that one, as a former admin, is near and dear to my heart. Someone oops deleted a folder, oops deleted a directory, or a super important Excel file. I can get that back for you, but guess what? I can also teach you how to go get that back for yourself, right? You get help faster, I promise. And then there's also fewer, help desk tickets you got to open to make that happen.
Right, absolutely. I mean, whenever I don't know about your experience with that, but whenever that happened, whatever that file was became the hugest emergency for that person.
Business critical work.
Not
stoppage.
an emergency.
you saw the most creative writing in those help desk tickets, right? Like work stoppage, P1, P0.
Right.
Yep.
Is the system down? Well, it is as far as I'm concerned.
Velvet cake recipe.
All right, I'm the Nazi guy. Not Nazi's bad word. I'm the guy who runs around saying stop using acronyms. Jirah, you said RPO, which stands for?
Yeah, the recovery point objective, right? So
recovery point.
I said it too, right? Your data gets to the DR site faster.
Well, you explained it, but then you didn't say exactly what that is.
Yep.
So that's often used in a conversation with the acronym of RTO.
True.
What's that stand for?
Recovery time.
And so what you're talking about here is the covering both, right? The user is now in control of RPO of their files, and they control the RTO at the same time.
Yeah, totally. So that ability to, know that the data I write at one site is at the other site as fast as possible, right? Currently, we're advertising that 1-minute RPO, but it's actually instantly available for retrieval, right? So as soon as you want to go get it from the other side, right, I can either tell the share to fail over, or it even stays on the other side in a readable fashion. So it's ready to be used, right? No lengthy like preparation, rehydration type of song and dance.
Yeah. All right, guys. 5 minutes left in the recording. Harvey, anything that happened in .next that we haven't covered that you thought was exciting?
Gosh, on the spot.
All right, back to Jirah.
Yeah, I don't have anything, but I don't have anything off the top of my head. Give me a sec.
Obviously, Harvey wasn't paying attention. No, I'm sure. Jirah,
we can bring it in for a landing. So how about this, right? HCI is the marriage of software and hardware, but obviously all software is powered by hardware. So super happy to see Ice Lake CPUs and AMD Milan CPUs from Intel and AMD come into all the platforms. Just gives our customers more options, more power. There's not an app that's been invented yet that doesn't want higher clock speeds, more performance, more cores for VDI environments, right? These are all fantastic things. Along with, the beauty of Nutanix solutions is that as you do that natural hardware evolution over time, as you do that refresh, you get more power with each generation. And now that with the newest nodes able to come with like Optane plus NVMe, it's almost wild to think that we have a storage tier above NVMe, where the hottest data can hit an Optane tier above NVMe, and NVMe is the cold tier. It almost just feels weird to say, but like that's crazy, right? 30% faster reads for Optane disks. And then let's end on this one here. huge announcement, right? So as a scale out platform, we've always been fantastic at running scale out workloads. VDI, of course, is the first one 11 years ago. For scale up databases, right? We've always agreed with Microsoft, right? You want more vDisks to get more performance. It's very natural when you build out your systems. Oracle as well, of course. Everybody says more vDisks equals more performance, and we agree as well. For lockdown scale up databases, right, where you don't necessarily have that option to lay out the data in a wider fashion to get more horsepower applied to it. Very cool announcement from the stage about data sharding. So we can now seamlessly below the level of the vDisk that you see, treat it like multiple vDisks on our level, and we can do that scale out at an invisible layer to you. So we can apply more performance to workloads that need it, even when you can't necessarily rework it according to our best practices. So more performance for more workloads, right? Basically, everybody gets on board with that train.
Yep. All right. All right. So I do want to bring one back around. Well, we didn't talk about it, but so Jirah, your solution is always the NX, the in-house version has really always been Nutanix great software on top of a good Supermicro gear. I saw an announcement the other day around Supermicro being an official server platform. Can you just elaborate on the what that means from the history of Nutanix into the ability now to support the platform on Supermicro?
You honestly got me there, buddy. I didn't see that announcement, and it's not sparking a neuron on my side. We definitely have the NX platform. It's a fantastic one, along with the customer's choice of all hardware options, right, from Fujitsu, Dell, Lenovo, HP.
So I might have dreamed it, and it's not usual for me to dream stuff like that. That's the second time today I've admitted that, and that is extremely embarrassing. However, I was under the impression that
Andy,
there was something else.
Yeah, the thing that sticks out to me is that, and I think you'll probably get to the same page here in just a second while you're sharing your screen. But before, this was always, oh, this is Nutanix's platform, this is the NX node type. I don't remember them ever saying, oh yeah, this is Supermicro. And this is the first time I'm seeing on the site that they are saying this is a purpose-built Supermicro solution. So that might have been what you're referring to here.
I think it is where Supermicro is going to market.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Supermicro shops out there that they've been maybe now they're actually buying Supermicro that just happens to come with Nutanix software, and it's supported and bundled from the other direction.
That's how I read this, right? Just reading it off your screen here about, so our Elevate partner program, which you guys are, of course, are in and are rocking at. So if Supermicro is joining the Elevate partner program, right? That's basically Supermicro saying, hey, you should buy these things that we make ultimately to sell to Nutanix to become NX nodes. Now you can get them as NX from us as well.
As you guys can tell, I'm Googling Intel data blocks. That's another one I would love to see Nutanix formalize a relationship with. It's another great platform, but nonetheless, I just want to kind of highlight that one.
We've got them. That's a done deal. What's next?
Well, I've got to go find that out. That's awesome.
If you average the Andy request time for clusters on Azure as well as AOS on Intel data center blocks, you get very low response times for both.
That's cheating. You can't do that.
Well, you took one that was like 6 months and compared it to one that was sub a second.
Okay, I did the math.
If you average out the latency, it's about 5 minutes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, last chance, Arctis guys. Any parting comments?
No, we, as mentioned before, we were sponsored at .NEXT conference, had a great booth there, had a lot of people come by. So we're real excited to continue the partnership with Nutanix and XenTegra. So we're very happy with it.
Thank you guys for the partnership. Thank you for the sponsorship. Thank you for the fantastic solution. I think is really a fantastic way to protect the data that goes into files.
Thanks, Jirah.
Harvey, your chance.
I am good, believe it or not. It doesn't happen often, does it? I think we've hit everything that we need to hit for this one, but we'll have lots of content in much more detail in the coming weeks based on .next. Lots of
Harvey's run out of juice. Somebody tell him it's only Thursday. 5-hour energy. That's all
Right.
you need. No, you got plenty of energy. No, I think Jirah's done a good job covering it. And, you know, I can't wait to be back in person. That would be my parting shot is this is all well and good, but it's the people time that's killing us. And that's why we're in Durham doing a baseball game. We're giving people the opportunity to get out and let's go get some stuff done. Jirah, your parting comments.
If this is all you learned about from .next, that is a grave disservice to everything we announced, and you should definitely go register for the replays, watch them. They don't take a long time. All the breakouts are on demand as well. And it's fantastic. And at the human interest level, right? There's even, you know, every conference has that little like, you know, non-technical, just interest level or like gaming corner. What I loved is even in our platform, if you're kind of just stressed out, if it's, you know, maybe close to 4 o'clock on a weekday and you just need to zen out for a moment, meditation sessions on there, 15 minutes of puppies rolling around in a puppy playpen. Go watch that. And a really, really cool smartphone photography top tips and tricks class. You know, it takes about 10-15 minutes to get in and out from a Condé Nast global international renowned photographer who like takes some photos, shows you how to retweak them right there on your phone. So really, really good stuff on there for the low price of free. So go check it out.
Jirah, are you telling me that if I sit there and watch puppies for 30 minutes and my boss walks by, I'm going to be able to explain that as working?
I mean, that's what I'm banking on. So
good luck.
Well, that's a whole
we
new
don't have the
element to
same
working
boss.
remote. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I just got the 2-minute notice that my truck is illegally parked. I've got to go.
Yeah, go get that.
All right, guys. Thanks. Appreciate you joining.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
Hey, take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.